Okay, so let's just continue right along. We got some follow-up problems to answer, and then you guys got some Canvas stuff to do. So anywho, true or false, is angle 1 congruent to angle 8? So what I recommend in this unit is always just like circle angle 1, circle angle 8. Circle the angles you're talking about, or highlight, underline, emphasize them in any ways. All right, so true or false? Okay, so this is actually, well, let's say, well, they're alternate exterior angles. But you notice how we don't know if lines are parallel? There's no double arrows. We can't assume lines are parallel. So parallel, that's the notation for parallel, is a pair of parallel lines. We don't know if they're parallel, so it's false. We have no information that tells us. Now, next problem, let's look at this. I love this problem. 5 and 8. Okay, well, 5 is congruent to 8. Why? They form a very special angle relationship. These are vertical angles. So that has no, lines being parallel has no effect on if these two angles are congruent. Since they are vertical angles, they are congruent, so that's true. Cool. Now, let's just cruise right along. In these problems right here, we're going to use the picture. Now, something we can immediately notice is that we have the notation for parallel lines. So all those theorems and postulates we have in our back pocket, we're able to pull out and apply if and when needed. So this first one, number 3, talking about angles 3 and 5. All right, those are consecutive interior angles. What do I know about consecutive interior angles? They're supplementary. So is this true or false? This one would be true. Okay. Now number 4. Measure of angle 76. Measure of angle 2 is 76. So that's 76 degrees. What's angle 6? Well, the relationship, they're in the same relative position. They're on the top right. So we have corresponding angles postulate. What's the punchline of the corresponding angles postulate? Congruent. So the measure of angle 6 is 76 degrees as well. Nice. All right. Number 5, we're talking about measure of angle 3 and the measure of angle 5 again. So this one just builds upon what we already have. We know that they're consecutive interior angles. We know that they're supplementary. So I know that measure of angle 3, which is 101 degrees, plus the measure of angle 5 has to add up to 180 degrees. So after some simple calculations, computing, 79 degrees. All right, that's it. All right, so let me clear this out, my picture. Got a lot. All right, don't want to get too messy as I progress. Now 1 and 6, again, what's the defined relationship with angles 1 and 6? The defined relationship, there is none. All right, they ain't got no defined relationship. All right. However, remember, they're either congruent or supplementary. That's our only two choices. So is it going to be congruent or supplementary? Now, in fact, you probably can tell. Actually, I saw this trick one time. Watch this. Let me redo this. All right, so we have angle 1. So you can always highlight it, and then let's purposely, be very carefully, cut it out. And then I'm going to rotate it. Oh, no. Let me rotate it. Notice how it doesn't fit? So it's not congruent. This angle and this angle aren't congruent. All right, let me just get rid of that because it's going to get in the way. All right, so, and then there's a couple ways we can go about this. Well, we can say, well, angle 1 and angle 5 are congruent. So 5 and 6 form a linear pair. So the answer is that they're supplementary. No exact relationship, or at least none that we have defined in math. You could call it alternate interior supplement, or I don't know what we would call it. Anyway, I'm just rambling. Let's focus on actually calculating it. It has no defined relationship, so it's supplementary by just looking at it, I can tell, so it's 65 degrees. All right, next we got 2 and 3. So again, emphasizing it, throwing this in here, vertical angles is actually still a big punchline in this unit. As I said, all right, they're congruent. Remember, our options are either congruent or supplementary. So they're vertical, so that means measure of angle 3 is also going to be 50 degrees. All right. 3 more problems, and then you got some Canvas stuff to follow up with. Neat. All right, find the missing variable. Again, emphasize the angles we're talking about. These lines are parallel. They're on alternate sides of the transversal. They're on the outside, the exterior of the parallel line. So we got alternate exterior angles. What do we know about alternate exterior angles? We know that they're congruent. So I have 3y plus 53 equals 7y minus 55. Subtract 3y from both sides. I'm going to get 53 equals 4y minus 55 plus 55 to both sides. I'm going to get 108 equals 4y. Divide both sides by 4. Y equals 27. That's it. Found a missing variable. Hooray. All right. And we'll draw another Darby teacher. We're going to draw Mrs. Lee. All right. For those who know Mrs. Lee, this is a pretty accurate picture of Mrs. Lee. Make sure to show her when you draw it. Anywho, which of the following questions is false? So I like this problem right here for a variety of reasons. So what can help at times is let's emphasize the parallel lines. All right. And then we can also emphasize some transversals, like just looking at this part of the problem. Let's focus on right here. We got parallel lines. The yellow lines are parallel. Orange is the transversal. We have a pair of consecutive interior angles. So to find Z, we have a pair of consecutive interior angles. They're supplementary. So the measure of angle Z should be 64 degrees. All right, because remember these two angles need to add to 180. So let's see, zoom out. It says, which of the following is false? Well, Z equals 64 degrees, so that one's not false. Okay. Now over here, same thing. We got the yellow parallel lines. We got this transversal. We can say, well, X and 73. So in terms of just talking about X, we have a pair of alternate interior angles. And what's so great about alternate interior angles? They're congruent. So that means that the measure of angle X should be 73 degrees. Let's zoom out. Oh, that's weird. That's it. That's the false one. Because what we can then also say, just to elaborate, since it's a linear pair, then that has to be 107 degrees. So why is angle X? So I guess this problem was asking, as we look at it, how come 16 and X aren't corresponding angles, or why doesn't the corresponding angles postulate work for that? It's because this line and that line, we don't know if they're parallel. So that's why C is the false one. And then last problem of the day, and then it's just you the rest of the day, working on Canvas, is we got a pair of consecutive interior angles. What's so great about consecutive interior angles? Well, they're great because they're supplementary. So that means I'm going to do 2x plus 43 plus 2x minus 3 equals 180. And again, this is a punchline. Don't forget, this stuff is a lot like the stuff in Unit 1. All right, setting up an equation when you're given two supplementary angles, then solving for x. We have a lot of practice with this. Hopefully you're feeling pretty good about it now. All right, so all I did was combine like terms. Now I'm going to subtract 40 from both sides. Why? Because that's mathematically legal. We have 4x equals 140. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And x is going to equal 35. And that's it. Okay? Complete these problems and have a good rest of your day.